If he's lying, he's not a prophet, then what is he? He's just some human. He's not the Son of God, right? But if he's a prophet and he's telling the truth, then he came in this generation in glory. When did he come in glory? In his resurrection. And by the way, that is the telos of Matthew. It's the telos of Mark, Luke, and John, by the way. Same telos, different logos. Remember that in the Gospels class? This is a critical thing. Because the evidentiary point is, who was really interested in the second coming? Paul was. He's the guy who wrote most about it. But to Christendom, to a lot of Christendom, and why do you think? I mean, I'm trying to take a lot of time with this, I shouldn't. But remember, I'm talking about Mysterion, and I really don't have time to talk about Mysterion again today, as much as I'd like. But remember, the Mysterion expects a what? A mystery. And would expect what? A second coming, right? That would be part. Remember, Christ has come, Christ is risen, Christ has died, Christ is risen, Christ will come again. That is the mystery of faith. So the Mysterion concept in the Greek mind of the Christ expects what? Second coming. And that was promoted mostly by Paul. And I'm not telling you that Pauline concepts or doctrines or ideas, I don't talk about doctrine of theology. I don't care about it. Well, I do care about it, but not in this class, because we're talking about history and linguistics and culture. But you have to realize there was a dichotomy between Pauline. Paul's, what did the Council of Jerusalem tell them to do about meat? Don't eat meat sacrificed to idols. What did Paul say about meat? I don't care if it's sacrificed to idols. Right? I'll eat it.
As long as it doesn't stumble.
As long as it doesn't cause another to stumble. Oh, do you see this? Was there a split between the Paul and the council?
Yes.
Matter of fact, the council, Paul wanted to take the gospel to Gentiles. The council was a little bit ambivalent about it, right? Do you see this? Dean Hodos was a little bit ambivalent about bringing in those Gentile guys. Peter didn't even want to go to Cornelius' house. He lied. Peter lied. It does not say anywhere in the Old Testament that he cannot speak to a Gentile or be in his house.
Did he lie, or was he just ignorant?
That's a great question. Because he was Pharisaically trained. And the Pharisees also didn't tell the truth. Right? Christ asked him, is it legal to heal on a Sabbath, on Shabbat? The answer is, yes, of course it is. That's what the Mishnah and the Talmuds both say, which the Pharisees knew. Right? But their answer was, no. Isn't that interesting? Yeah. But that also shows what? A split in Pharisaic thought at the time. So we want to think that people are cohesive in their views. We want to think that all of early Christianity is cohesive. It's not. Because out of early Christianity came what? Gnosticism. The Gnostics came out of Christianity. We have all kinds of Gnostic documents like crazy. The Gnostics were almost the first to write it down. The Gospel of Thomas is probably the earliest document other than Didache that we know about. Gospel of Thomas was written very quickly after Christ's death. It's a Gnostic document. It's a sayings document. So, and maybe someday we'll study this. That'd be cool to look at those documents. I got to do this. I got to do the words of the day. I can't let you forget this word, suke. This is sukhan, but suke is the word suke, which is, remember, we have sarx, which is the body, the physical flesh. We have suke, which is the mind, psyche comes from it. And we have, and this is also breath. And then we have pneuma. Pneuma is also breath, but it's the soul. Kind of like we think about the world, but different. And we're going to see this. It's very important. A-P-O-K-T-E-I-N-A-I. Apoketenai. This means literally to slay, to kill outright. Now this word is compared with A-P-O-L-E-S-A, apolesa, which means to destroy. Why I have this word in here is because both these words are used, both these words are translated destroy. But they're different. One is destroy and one is to slay. I can't forget this one, Gehenna, which is the valley of Gehenna, which is hell. That's hell. And this one, a new word that you haven't heard before, I don't think, Soma. Soma, okay, this gets really complicated. But Soma is sarx and suke. When you have your flesh and you have breath in it, or the mind, you have Soma. And this becomes really important because this word is also translated, remember, suke is translated life, and it isn't life. That's not what it should be translated at all. Soma is translated body, which is a lot better, but this is the body including the suke. What's the body without the suke? Sarx. Do you see how complicated this Greek stuff can get? I mean, it's kind of neat, but it's really complicated stuff. So let's run. I wanted to talk about Mysterion, but I don't have time to talk about Mysterion. So I want to go quickly. I want to finish quickly the thing that Tammy said she wanted to hear about again, or that I skipped over too quickly. I got to get to it. In 9, first of all, I got to mention this. Okay, we saw in chapter 8 and 9, this is, I think this is 8:9 or 9:9, when, this is when, as Jesus went on, this is 9, as Jesus went on from there, he saw a man named Matthew sitting at the tax collector's booth. What is that? Is that 8:9 or 9:9? 9:9? Okay, as Jesus went up from there, he saw a man named Matthew sitting at a tax collector's booth, literally in a telion, a place for receipt of customer tribute. Remember, telion, telos. Telos is the vanishing point on the horizon, but it's we translate a goal or conclusion. A telion is a place where your money ends, right? The conclusion of your money, giving it to the tax collector. And a tax collector is a telionis. A tax gatherer. A tax gatherer is a telionis, a tribute collector. Remember, it's not taxes, it's tribute. So the funny part about this is a pun. This is a great pun based in Matthew. Because Matthew is the writer, he's the first person writer, he is the witness to this. And what is he equating himself with? Well, he's a tax collector, and telionis is the bad thing. And the word of the day I gave you last week was that sin is hamartolos, those who have missed the mark. Hamartelos, those who have missed the mark. A telos is a mark. A telos can be, you know, when I take aim with an arrow and hit the mark, that's a telos. Telos, right? To get the point. That's another pun. I love it. Okay, in English. But do you see this? So if he is a telos, a telionis, he's a tribute collector, he's missed the mark. And so he's telling you that now he has found the mark. This is a beautiful pun in Greek on his name and the fact that he was and is a hamartelos. He's missed the mark. And so therefore Christ is in his house, because that's the point. While Jesus was having dinner at Matthew's house, many tax collectors, telonis, tribute collectors, and sinners, hamartolos, those who had missed the mark, came and ate with him and his disciples. Beautiful pun. I want to point that out to you. I'm going to skip up to the other thing that, remember, these were who is in the kingdom of heaven. And basically the second discourse will support this big time. But the thing I wanted to really hit you with is, and I don't have time for the shrunken cloth, I talked about that. This is what I want to talk to you about is, all right, just before this, Christ equated himself with what? Who did he equate himself with? Look in 15, 9:15. Who is Christ? The bridegroom. The bridegroom, that means he is, who's the bridegroom for Israel? God. He's saying, I'm God. Now watch this. And then we had the patch. I'm not going to go into the patch. I talked about that last week. The thing I want to really get into is watch what happens. In 18, while he was saying this, a ruler came and knelt before him and said, "My daughter has just died, but come and put your hand on her and she will live." So he knows his daughter died. Okay, so what we have is a daughter. And I'm not going to go through a huge thing, but the big deal is she is a daughter. It equates her with a parthos. Therefore, she is a virgin. She is an unmarried girl. And she died, which means that she can never be a bride. She is a girl who can never be a bride. How worthwhile were girls who could never be brides? Completely worthless. And how worthless is a girl who can never be a bride who is dead? That's the absolute most worthless thing in their culture.
Well, is the ruler a Jewish guy? Do we know what?
Yeah, he's probably Jewish. Although, watch what happens, and you're going to get a question in your mind. But he's probably Jewish.
But she can never be a bride because she's dead.
Well, the point is that girls were considered worthless anyway in the culture. And so a girl who is, like, a wife had worth, right? A girl, before she's a bride, the only worth she has is that she could be a wife. Do you see? She's worthless because they put him in a gynoeceum. And because she's a ruler, where is the girl? She's in the gynoeceum with her mother and never allowed out except, with a father or with a brother or someone to look after her. So in their culture, they're setting this up. I mean, this is being set up specifically as a cultural question because it says he's a ruler, so therefore he's upper middle class, so therefore she is going to be in a gynoeceum, excluded, you see. And we're going to find out how Greek this guy is in just a second. He probably is Jewish, but Hellenized. We're going to see that. But the big point is that she was worthless because she was a girl. Now she is more than worthless because she is a dead girl. And look at what the father said. Basically he says, "My daughter's died," to put her hand on him. This is pretty special. This is countercultural. Because a lot of fathers in this era would say what? Good riddance. Good riddance. See? In any case. But look at this, what happens. Just then a woman, a gune, it says literally a wife. Because, woman, wife, same word in Greek. It's just like in German, Frau. A woman, a wife. Who had been a subject of bleeding for 12 years, came up behind him and touched the edge of his cloak. Now what's the problem with bleeding?
Unclean.
What does that mean, though, with her husband? She was a wife. It says she's a wife, so therefore she was married. So what did that mean with her husband?
No children. No heirs.
No sex. No sex. Because Jewish law says you can have sex with an unclean person, man or woman. So there's no sex. So we have the contrast here. That Matthew is not just throwing in. We have this opinion, which is totally wrong, that Matthew is just taking assorted incidents in the life of Christ and writing them down for us. This is completely further from the fact as you can get. What is the evidence of this woman? This woman is a bride who what?
Can't fulfill her.
Who cannot consummate marriage. She is a bride. So what do you have? You have a contrast. Both are worthless in their culture. The woman who is a bride who cannot consummate a marriage, therefore she can't have children, therefore she can't participate. And she's unclean. And on the other hand, you have a girl who's worthless because she is too young to be a bride, but she's dead. Do you see this? This is not accidental. We want to think, oh, this is just some sweet story, about this and blah, blah. This is not. Matthew has put together a cohesive whole that is a logos to tell you something. Okay, before he told you, what was Jesus? The bridegroom. And we just presented to you what?
The brides.
Two potential brides who under Jewish law can't be brides. Now watch what happens. So, she said to herself, 21, "If I only touch his cloak, I will be," it's not healed, the word is suzo, safe. I will be saved. If I touch his cloak, I will be saved. Remember, people didn't understand disease. I told you this before. What will she be saved from? Well, it's not demons in this case. She is unclean. You see, remember we talked about demons. We talked about pur, about the idea that Zeus himself had put a curse